Russian President Vladimir Putin cast his ballot in elections that were widely expected to reflect rising discontent over political and economic stagnation in the country. Those expectations were met. Putin's party went from having 38 seats to 25.
The results of the election turned out to be very controversial because, on the one hand, one might state that the population voted to a great extent against authorities. We saw in Moscow that the opposition won in 19 or 20 constituencies. It was unclear till the last moment. In other words, in nearly half electoral constituencies, this is a sign that people are unhappy.
These elections were marred by police crackdowns on those who demanded the participation of other political leaders who were not allowed to run. Opposition leader Alexei Navalny called on followers to vote for candidates who had the best chances of defeating Putin allies. Analysts call this Navalny's first strategic victory. Now some experts say all eyes are on whether this strategy will galvanize support ahead of the next parliamentary elections in 2021.
The
forces involved in the Moscow election are starting to gradually prepare for the State Duma election campaign. This election campaign is scheduled for 2021. There seems to be enough time, 2 years. But I think what was going on in Moscow became a catalyst that accelerated the election campaign at the national level.
But despite the political drama, abstention was the main event at this show. Only 17% of eligible voters in Moscow turned out to cast ballots. Among those who did vote, the desire for change was palpable.
These elections mean that the Muscovites do not cower before the authorities and will not let the authorities crush them.
I would like to see not just the change in the State Duma, but a change of the overall attitude toward a human who lives in this country.
Some analysts say Russia's leadership is at a crossroads. In theory, this would be President Putin's last term, and Russia's power structure is due for a change.
That is why they are getting prepared different sorts of political variants. It is quite likely that in the post-Putin or even in the late Putin period, the system will be a bit more pluralistic.
The next elections are still years away, and the current presidential term ends in 2024. But there are some who are already thinking of and preparing for a Russia without Vladimir Putin. This is Motta for Ricardo, Marquina, and Olga Pavlova in Moscow.